Okay.
That's what we wanted to hear. Hey, this is Ken Renner, real estate broker here in North Austin Metro, Liberty Hill to be exact. And I'm here with Richie Gill. I think you're going to find this podcast to be super informative because this is the time of year when we're dealing with property taxes. And that's big point of contention, conversation, and a very much a fiscal issue when it comes to real estate here in Texas. So we're going to clear up some things and try to save you a bunch of money on your property taxes. And give you an opportunity to connect with someone who's an expert in this area that you can actually pick up the phone and call, get your answers. So that's Richie and his partner, Charles Denson. So Richie, I appreciate you coming. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how long your associates have been working with you and what have you.
Yeah, Ken, thanks for having me. I really appreciate taking this opportunity to help people learn about the property tax process. Happy to go through this. So, my name is Richie Gill. I'm a partner at Gill Denson and Company. The company's been around for 6 years, and then we have consultants that do the property tax work that have been working in this business for well over 25 years. And so we bring a lot of experience to the table. And we use that experience to get people reductions on their property tax through the protest process. And so this year we're still going through the sales season, but we're expecting to handle over 25,000 protests all across the state in over 160 counties. I'm based here in Austin, so we do a lot of work in Travis and Williamson, which I know a lot of your clients have properties in. But we're all over the state.
Great. So let's talk about some of the important dates that this property tax, state of Texas has on the calendar.
Yeah, sure. And I know this can be confusing to people that are maybe from out of state or just learning this process. So basically, when you get an appraisal notice, you typically get it sometime in April or early May. That notice you get is going to be for the January 1st valuation date of that year. And so you're getting a notice and that's what they're using their mass appraisal system, which we can go over later of kind of why that has issues, but they're trying to value your property as of January 1st. You get that notice in April. The protest deadline is May 15th or 30 days after the appraisal notice is sent. So if you get it on May 1st, your deadline for protest might not be till the end of May. So most counties, Williamson, Travis, most of them are going to be May 15th. So that's your protest deadline. When you file the protest, and we'll go over this more later, the hearings are typically sometime over the summer, June, July, August. Once those are done, the certification date for when counties have to have a majority of their hearing dates is July 25th, and that's when the appraisal roll is finalized. And then your tax rate is set in August and September based on the budget for all the different taxing entities. So the school may pass a budget increase, but they are limited on what they can do. But that tax rate comes out in August, September. And then your tax bill gets mailed typically at the beginning of November, due the following January 31st. So we're in a 13-month cycle. So some people come to us, January, and they'll say, hey, I need to protest this tax bill I just got. And I say, hey, you are 8 months, 7, 8 months too late. You should have done that last year. So you have to be conscious of the timeline so you can make sure you can do something about it before that May 15th deadline.
The one important thing we talk to our clients is to make sure that they check their property tax record and make sure their mailing address is their home address, not the property. And we've seen a lot of times that the title company gets
Yeah.
it wrong, and all these protest letters are going to the property. The tenant doesn't know what to do with them, and I've
Yep.
seen people miss out on a lot of opportunity to do their protest.
Yeah, and another thing to mention, Ken, is if your property didn't increase above a certain threshold, you may not even get a notice. So even if your property stays the same year over year, even if there's a modest increase, you may not get a notice. You really need to look online for your appraisal value. We're recording this on April 17th. So with most of the notices in the Austin area out. So you need to look online to find that value. Very important, because you may not get it in the mail.
And you can file the protest online in most counties right now, right? Or does
So most counties in the Austin area are online. Some of them, outside of kind of our core Williamson, Travis require certified mail, but most of it's online now since the pandemic.
Yeah, well, that really helps. And the same thing with the protest hearing, you can do that online as well. Those are great dates. Let's talk about the valuation and the rate and how that works. Now, we just talked about my property. Here it was assessed at $1 million or just over $1 million. But when I moved here in 2020, the tax rate was 2.7. Now the tax rate, you looked it up for me, was 2.18. Is that really a set rate, or is that just kind of an estimate of what they think it'll be in August, October?
Yeah, good question. So that rate that you're looking at is an estimate. So they don't know the tax rate until budgets are set by the taxing entities. And that happens in August, September. If there's an election to change the budget or increase the budget, that could be, as late as October or November. But yeah, so that's an estimate. You won't really know until your tax bill until later in the year. So it's definitely a guess, and you gotta wait till that final rate comes out, because really they're taking the appraisal roll and then they're taking their budget. They're dividing the budget of all the taxing entities by the appraisal roll, and that's how they generate the tax rate. So they don't know until the protest process is over, how much those rates are, because the way the math works.
Yeah, and if you do any major substantial improvements on the property, like a big pool out in the backyard, you don't want to alert the taxing authorities that you've got that. Let them figure it out on their own, because that's not protected by any caps on homestead or what have you, right?
That's right. Yeah. So if you build a pool for whatever value, I'm not saying anyone on this call did, but if you did, that is exempt from the homestead cap, and that's a good point, Ken. So if you do remodel work on your house, let's say you do $100,000 of work on your house, that is not limited. That's not protected under the 10% assessed value cap, which we'll go over in a few minutes. So that really does, in those situations, you definitely want to protest, because they could be way off on the value of your improvements, and that's not protected under any of the homestead exemptions.
They can be pretty sneaky too. I asked one of the guys, "Hey, how do you know it got renovated? How do you know it got renovated?" And they're like, "Well, we looked at a satellite picture, and there's a big giant dumpster in the driveway, so we're pretty sure it got pretty sure."
They're tricky. Well, first of all, they look at permits. So if you do any work in your house that requires a permit, even if you're just fixing something, they will assume that you did remodel work. And second of all, satellite images. Third of all, they drive around. I mean, we have clients that call us, and their appraisal staff will literally be in their backyard taking pictures of
they did. But my wife called me and said, the appraiser wants to go in the back. We did a renovation, a real nice on our old house, and, and it's like I go at first. I'm like, yeah, sure, let him. I'm like, wait a minute, no,
no way.
And he's looking in the door while these brand new wood.
Yeah, he's looking over the fence, trying to find.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty funny. So let's talk about the new laws and how that's helping us save taxes with the exemptions.
Yeah, so Texas property owners got a pretty good break on the 88th legislation session last year that was passed in November. So there's three main points I like to talk about with property owners. One is the increased homestead exemption. So we, in the past, had $40,000 of value was exempted on taxation as your first $40,000. That has now increased to $100,000. So big tax break there. Yeah, it's your first $100,000 of value. So if you have theoretically $100,000 property, you're not paying taxes with your homestead. So second of all, there was what's called rate compression. So they paid down 10.7 cents of every $100 of value for Texas property owners. And that's big, and that's across all properties. And so what the state is doing is they are sending money to local taxing entities and paying it on your behalf for a limited period of time. That will expire. And then third of all, for investment properties, which I know a lot of your clients are involved in, if it's a non-homestead, there is a 20% cap on the taxable value increase year over year. So any properties under $5 million that are non-homestead, it's called a circuit breaker. They can't go up more than 20% taxable value year over year. So those are three big changes.
That's good, because, in 2020, 2021, a lot of those properties went, well, one year it was 40%.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad my investors were able to cash in on that.
Yeah.
And then it went up another 25% the following year. And so that we needed that cap a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah, they were definitely a year or two late on that, unfortunately.
Well, I'm glad they have it now. Probably not going to be seeing those appreciation rates anytime too soon. But also, let's talk about the important exemptions that we should be looking at.
Yeah, so the homestead exemption, super important. So like we talked about, the $100,000 of value, it also protects the increase year over year of your taxable value. So it's important for people to understand there's two values on your appraisal notice. There's one, the market value, what they think your property's worth or could sell for, and two, your taxable value. The taxable value is the market value minus any exemptions you have. So if you have a homestead exemption, that taxable value, you're not being taxed at the full amount. Got the $100,000 cap exemption, plus you can't have that taxable value increase more than 10% year over year. So it's a really strong protection. That's one exemption. Another one people want to be aware of is if you're 65 or older, there's an important exemption that will help you out and freeze your taxes, your school taxes. And so that'll help you to help prevent that number from creeping up year after year. So those are two really important exemptions.
And then we got the benefit for our veterans. State of Texas is really nice. So they don't have to pay property 100% disability. They don't have to pay taxes at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, veterans, and they absolutely deserve this when they're 100% disabled. They don't pay any taxes in the state of Texas, fortunately for them. So that's a great benefit. And if you're 100% disabled, you have 100% exemption. You don't pay any property taxes in Texas, which is amazing. A second part of that is if you're a lower disability rating, 70, 80%, whatever that might be,
Mhm.
you do get an exemption. It's not prorated, but you do get an exemption as well. So Texas definitely helps out their veterans.
Yeah, and then we talked about over 65 exemption moving from, like, my in-laws right now are they're moving from a $1 million house to a $500,000 house. I'm not sure if they're actually moving in the same county. I'd have to double check it. But
Yeah.
you said that if it's in the same county, that exemption or the percentage moves with them. So if they're
Yeah. And actually, that moves, same county or different county. It's transferable anywhere in Texas. So if you're moving from Williamson to Travis or anywhere in the state of Texas,
Mhm.
it moves with you. And how it works is it's based on a percentage. So we have a lot of people say, "Hey, I'm moving from $1 million house to a $500,000 house. Is my tax ceiling going to stay at the higher amount when I move?" No, it's actually a percentage. So if you're currently exempted from 50% of your taxes, that 50% will be recalculated on your new tax bill no matter where you move. And so
So
if you're within the same county, it's easy. It just transfers within. There's no paperwork needed. If you move from one county to another, there's a tax certificate that the county will issue and you can bring with you to any other county.
that's really good for them because I know they don't know this, but that means if their current $500,000 house that they're moved into is a rental and it's capped out at that 500,000, now they would get it when they move into it. Does that mean that their tax bill would be cut in half if they're at 50%?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So it's a huge savings.
Okay, so I'll check to make sure the counties are right on that. All right, well, cool. Tell us a little bit about protesting your property taxes. Anybody can do it themselves, or hire a professional like you, who has the experience, be able to get through all this and the valuations and the time that it takes. So tell us a little bit about the process of filing and protesting a tax, and then so it's actually what you do on behalf of for them if they would decide to hire you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just go over the key components of the protest process. First is indicating to the county that you would like to start the protest process. That's easy. Anyone can do that online or by paper, or in person. Second part is, and this is the crucial part that you need to get right, and this is why a lot of people decide to hire a firm. It's collecting the evidence to prove a reduction. And so what does that mean? That means looking at sales comps and not, Texas is a non-disclosure state.
Right.
So sales comps are not easy to find. You can't go on Zillow, you can't go on
Nope.
realtor.com. You have to pull MLS data and you really have to dig into the records. And sometimes there's properties not even reported on the MLS that we're digging up.
Right.
So, finding the sales comp data, that's a very important part of it. Second part is what's called equity comps. And so there's a state law in Texas that requires you to be fairly taxed versus your neighbors. And so this really requires what's called a appraisal grid and an equity analysis. So we have really cool software that puts together and pulls the appraisal data from other similar properties, creates an appraisal grid for yours, and it shows us discrepancies, price per square foot, condition ratings,
Right.
various different things that we can use to reduce your taxes, even if the sales comps don't support a reduction. Let's say you could sell your property for 600,000. Let's say you're being taxed at 500,000. Sales comps don't support a reduction. Your neighbors might be taxed at 400,000. So we use the neighbor's tax to come up with a new, and you obviously you can't take it one for one because everyone knows square footage, condition, a lot of
Right.
things affect it. So we use that neighbor's number, bring it in after adjustments that the appraisal district requires, and come up with a new appraisal grid and show them that evidence. So evidence is the second part, and then the hearings, which we can talk about more in a bit, are kind of the third part, and that allows you to present the evidence in a place in a hearing format where you can get the reduction.
Well, part of the problem with that too is that you don't know what, since we're non-disclosure state, you have to contact a realtor or an appraiser to actually get those sales comps.
Right.
And then I'm sorry, but a lot of realtors don't realize how they've changed the way that they actually assess. It used to be a comps 3 months before the first of the year and maybe a month into the year. That's changed. And so we average realtor and most of the public doesn't know how they come up with it. And I guess Williamson County was the first one to come up with their new algorithm. But they're very proud of it. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what that's how, the process once they either hire you or file the protest online.
Yeah, and just going back real quick to talk about what they pioneered, and they were pretty unique in this, is that they came up with these monthly appreciation calculators. So if you brought in a comp from August, they were trying to appreciate it from August to January, which in the past was just ludicrous. In the past, a comp is a comp. It's a few months
Yep.
before you use the comp. You don't provide these complicated formulas to adjust it. So we fought back on that. Most individual homeowners probably didn't do that and left money on the table. We brought things to binding arbitration, talked to the appraisal staff about that, and got reduction. So going back to your question, there's two hearing formats. There is a informal hearing and an ARB, appraisal review board, formal hearing. The informal hearing is basically an opportunity for us to speak with appraisal staff. So we sit there and we have 50 cases in a day. So we'll build a relationship with them. We'll go through each one and say, this is our evidence. This is why we believe there should be a reduction. We're going through each one. Each case is different, individual attention on each. And then they will give us a reduction or not. If they don't give us something we're satisfied with, we take it to the appraisal review board and show it in a more formal setting. And I always explain to people, it's kind of like small claims court. You are representing yourself, or you hire an agent and we'll represent you. And then their appraisal district is on the other side, representing their interests, and they show why the value is justified. You show why it's not. And then there's three people, which I call the jury, the appraisal review board, and they make a determination who they side with. And so it's important to have compelling evidence. Just like when you go into a trial and you're defending yourself, you need to have compelling evidence. Otherwise, they're not going to side with you.
Right. And then if you don't like what the appraisal review board comes up with, what's the next step from that?
Yeah, so for cases where we go through informal appraisal review board, we have a really compelling case, and we believe the property owner is not getting a fair shake. We're gonna consult with the property owner first of all and say, hey, this is what we believe is happening. We believe your property justifiably should be reduced even further. We'll take it to what's called binding arbitration or litigation, depending on the size of the property. So most residential properties fit in that binding arbitration bucket, and so we'll take it to an arbitrator, which is someone with a lot of experience, someone like you, Ken, that has been in the business for a long time, and they'll listen to the case and say, they're unbiased. They're outside the county, so they're not working for the county. They're not getting paid by the county, and they look at the case and they give an unbiased opinion of your case versus the tax appraisal office case, and gives their judgment on who is right and where that value falls. And so that's the third and final step of judicial appeal that allows us to get a reduction if we're unsuccessful in the first two methods.
Oh, that's great. And we were talked about when to file that notice of protest and try to get closer to the May 15th deadline, because why do we want to wait till closer to May 15th to do that?
Yeah, so it's kind of a strategy thing, understanding human nature, right? So people get tired at the end of the season. They've been dealing with thousands of protests, and so if you file a late protest, don't file it after the deadline, because
Yeah.
you're going to miss your chance. File it May 15th or a few days before, and that's what we do. We file everything on May 15th. You get later hearing dates. You might be in July. Remember, their certification date is July 25th. So if you have a July 20th hearing, they're on the clock. They got to finish their appraisals. They got to be done. And so, a lot of times they're more favorable. They're saying, hey, let's wrap this up, man. We got 200 protests by the end of the day. We got to finish up. So let's just keep going. So there's a little bit of a strategy factor there.
And you have the relationship with the appraiser because you're sitting there with them for 6, 8 hours. And we talked about this earlier. I found that if you're really nice to them and have great evidence but firm, they're much more likely to work with you on their appraised value situation. And if you're like the people in the stall behind me that are yelling and screaming and almost profanities over their value, I'm not paying it. And then they get shut down like this, and they're not going to do anything. So we also talked about hopefully get the appointment after lunch, right after lunch.
That's
so
right.
They're all carved up and they're feeling good.
That's right.
But really important is to be nice. And I've even had appraisers when they were nice enough, I was nice enough to them that they would even look at some of my other properties and say, "Oh, well,
Right.
look," and they appreciated it. It gave me a huge deduction, even on properties I didn't think I could win. So that's we don't want to do it really at the beginning, like file it as soon as you get your protest form and get it out there, because they're going to be fresh and ready to go. And as the saying says, the first one out of the foxhole gets shot, right? So
you're exactly right, Ken. That's exactly right.
Let's talk a little bit about what you do and how you can help our clients, and also some of the special discounts that you get for working with our team.
Yeah, absolutely. So we handle the whole process for clients. We file the paperwork, we put together all the evidence, we attend the hearings, and we provide advice throughout the whole process. So this is what we do 365 days a year. This is our job. This is our profession. Our guys have been doing this for decades, and so we bring a lot of experience, technology, and process to the table. And so last year we got a reduction for more than 80% of our clients, and so we had a substantial success rate. And we're happy to offer that to your clients as well. So Ken, when we first started talking, we negotiated a great rate for your viewers, and you really pushed hard to bring them something special, so that way
Right.
they can benefit from the relationship with you. So when they come to us, if you don't have the discount, if you're just off the street, it's 35% of whatever tax savings we get is what we charge, and so it's contingency fee based, and so there's no flat or upfront fees. And so it's strictly based on how much we save in your pocket, meaning you're always saving more than you're paying us. And usually you're saving a lot more. Because of the relationship they have with you, when they go on our website, they can sign up using your discount code RENNER uh,
Mhm.
in the online form, and they can get a rate of 25% of the tax savings, which is almost a third
Hmm.
off of what our typical rate is. So it's a great special, probably the best you're going to find anywhere online,
Yeah,
at
that
least for
is.
anyone that's really given this kind of attention to your properties. And so they can sign up as many properties as they like. Like I said, we work all over Texas. So if they have a portfolio, we'll be happy to work with them, even if it's just one property. We'll honor the discount for everyone.
Yeah, and so if you don't save money on them, then they don't owe you anything.
That's right.
If
Yeah,
you
we
don't
don't
save money
save
on the
anything.
property taxes,
Yeah, so we're highly motivated to get reductions, right?
right?
Because if we go through the whole process, we spent 5 or 10 hours on your case, we didn't get a reduction, we're not going to get paid. So we take that risk on because we know we have a highly successful process.
Well, and that's the whole thing is about relationships, and also my relationship with my clients. Their biggest concern right now, as far as expenses are concerned, are the property taxes. So we can
Right.
help them get those reduced with the tax rates dropping, and valuations have dropped a bit. That
Right.
will definitely reflect, but the escrow accounts don't catch up. So maybe next year before you actually start to see some refunds or lower payments. But so just be patient with that. But yeah, so tell us how they would be able to get involved with having you help them, because our clients, most of them are medical or high tech workers. The thing that they don't have is a lot of extra time. Certainly not 5 to 10 hours for each property that you put in. Plus, it's a non-disclosure state, so it's hard to get the information where you have it all at the tips of your fingers.
Yeah, absolutely. So the sign up process with us, we make it very easy. So you just go right on our website, gilldenson.com. That's GILLD as in Delta, ENSON.com.
Okay.
And there's a get started button on the top right. It's a big blue button. Just click on that. And when you're going through the process, add all your properties, and then you're going to add the code RENNER right on the discount field, and that will automatically apply the discount during the sign up process. You're also welcome to call us,
Yeah.
email us, live chat with us. I'd love to speak with your
Yep.
clients. When you call, you're going to get me or my business partner, Charles. One of us speaks directly with clients. We have a team that works under us, but we love speaking with clients about their situation, love talking about this. And so if you have any questions, just pick up the
Yeah.
phone and call me. I'll be glad to discuss anything with them. But yeah, the sign up
What's
process is fully online, very easy and streamlined.
what's the phone number?
Yeah, so the phone number, it's actually right on the top of our website,
Okay.
and it's a 1-800 number, but it actually goes right to us. It's 1-800-918-3502. So
Okay.
1-800-918-3502. That goes right to me and my business partner in our office.
Well, I can vouch for that because I called you and I talked every time I've called you, you've picked up the phone, which is amazing for an
Yeah.
appraiser.
Well, I always tell people, hey, if you're considering which firm to go with, try to pick up the phone and call the other guys. They don't
Yeah.
pick up the phone.
Yeah, and one last thing, if they're under property management and they have a property manager may have a relationship with another one of the firms, ProTax or whatever, you want to tell your property manager that you're going to be using somebody that been recommended and where you're getting a substantial discount. So just make sure that you tell your property manager so they don't automatically file the protest for you with another agent, because you have to put Richie Gill in there as your registered agent when you file the protest form.
Yeah, so just make sure your property manager is not doing that, especially, they may be signing you up with someone that's charging a lot higher fees, maybe even flat or monthly, yearly fees on that. Just talk to them, be like, hey, I'm
Yeah.
hiring my own person. I'm going to handle this, and just be clear with them. Sign up with us. We'll take care of everything
That,
for you and give you that discount
that's
rate. And that discount stays with you for the life of your relationship. So when
okay.
they enter at the first time, we're going to work with them for years at that lower rate. It's not just 1 year.
Let's say they actually filed the protest not knowing about you, and can they bring you in, can they refile the protest with your name and as agent?
Yeah, so our preference is handling the whole thing. We're definitely
But
more successful when we file the protest,
okay.
but if they mistakenly did it or did it before this, this came out, they can still sign up with us. What I advise is don't go to the hearings yet, because if you go to the hearings, you're going to lose your rights for us to go to the hearings. So don't do the informal or the formal. Let us do those, because we want to put together the evidence presentation, the strongest presentation possible. So if you're listening to this and you haven't filed your protest, do not file it. Let us file it, because we get a better process when we do that. But if you did, we'll still help you out, and we'll still, go through that process. Just don't go to the hearings if you intend to hire
Yeah,
someone.
and you can postpone a hearing too if you need
Right.
it. So saving time and saving money, that's what it's all about in a relationship. So thank you so much, Richie. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to use my name, Renner, in the discount code, so you can get your 1/3 off of what it would normally cost you to get your protest taxes, and let them handle it. Just like we have property managers, let the property managers manage. Let the tax protesters protest your stuff. So that you can get on with life and get a lower tax bill all the way around. So thank you once
Absolutely.
again, Richie. Appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll have another one of these as we get more questions on what's going on with property taxes in Texas.
All right. It was a lot of fun. Thanks, Ken. I look forward to
Thank
working with your clients.
you. All right. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.